Welcome to the National Institute for Health and Care Research Mentoring Programme Professional Development webinar series. I'm Julie Haddock-Millar and I support with the training and development on the programme. In this webinar, we're going to consider career transitions and professional development within the context of the mentoring relationship. First of all, we'll look at career transition and change, and then how mentoring can support our professional development and conversations around this topic area. I'll then signpost some resources. Often what brings colleagues to mentoring is because they're experiencing change in relation to career, or would like to consider different directions and career choices. And these are some of the quotations that we've viewed from different mentoring programs in evaluation. So what we see here, for example, is that a mentee might describe that I don't know what opportunities are available within my field, or I feel stuck in my current position, I don't know where to go next, or I might feel inhibited. Or sometimes there's a number of options and I can't decide between the options available. And that's where mentoring can really support in these conversations around career choices. Now, a career choice conversation can involve 5 different elements or stages, we might say. Identity and exploring identity, past, present, and future. Environment, understanding and navigating context. Conducting some research to gather information and knowledge, which might take place over a series of weeks or months in the mentoring relationship. Decision-making, making informed choices, and the change talk, so that commitment to make a change and intention. Now, Professor Herminia Ibarra specialises in research around careers, and one of her publications, Working Identity, is really useful in conversations around careers and career strategies, and particularly reinventing careers, as we can see here on the slide. And Ibarra describes that working identity is defined by what we do, the company we keep, and formative events. And so often in the context of the mentoring relationship, it can be useful to think through and talk through these different aspects. So aspects of working identity on the left-hand side we can see here, and then on the right-hand side, there are some suggested strategies for reworking identity. I mentioned about past, present, and future. There are a number of different tools and techniques we can use to explore each of those 3 lenses. So, for example, you might want to spend some time creating a career genogram, and that's a technique that is frequently used in careers coaching. And it's almost a family tree of careers, so mapping out occupations. And it can be very useful to identify any patterns or themes that might be relevant today, both in terms of facilitators and inhibitors. I'm really thinking through our career story. So what's led us to where we are today? What are some of the formative experiences that have influenced where we've arrived at today? Some of those pivotal moments, perhaps, that we might explore. And it's very much around developing self-insight, self-knowledge, and as I mentioned, thinking about the past and the present and then the future. Now, we might refer to the present as the middle ground or the neutral zone. Yet to transition, so yet to make that change. And there might be some tentative steps involved in making a change. The future might be imagining our possible selves, imagining the future, where we might be, what that might look like, for example. Now, questions to explore the future. Many different mentoring questions. We have a topic guide that accompanies this session, and you'll see various questions outlined in the topic guide. And there's some examples here that you might want to apply in the context of your mentoring conversations. And then thinking about the environment, so understanding and navigating context and gathering information and knowledge, so carrying out some research, which, as I mentioned, might take several weeks or several months within the mentoring relationship. Gathering outside information, so information knowledge to help us navigate context, knowing what's out there in the ecosystem. And that's where mentoring might really help, because as a mentor, you might be able to provide knowledge to the mentee And as a mentee, you can utilise and draw on your mentor in that regard. So there's both insight, so gaining self-insight and knowledge, and outside, the ecosystem and the context, and balancing the two in relation to gathering information and knowledge. Then moving on to decision making, so making informed choices. And of course, it can be difficult because there are many different factors or considerations involved in making decisions. The list here is adapted from Yeats in the careers literature, and there are some aspects that you may want to consider when you embark on the choice stage of a careers talk. So some examples here around role and task variety, working conditions, autonomy, congruence and alignment, for example. There's a very useful exercise called the change balloon. It's a tool that's used frequently in coaching and mentoring to help make an informed decision. We might take those aspects explored on the previous slide and then follow through this process to help us prioritize and to think about what's particularly important at this stage of our career, at this stage of our life, and perhaps the next 1 to 2 years, or even as far as 3 to 5 years, depending on how far ahead you like to plan and look. And the final element, intention, so commitment to make a change. That's often referred to as the change talk. So really focusing on the change, having that change talk, helping us shift our intention, the change or action that's needed to make that transition, and all the positives that might be related to that. Visualizing, perhaps picturing ourselves 2 years from now, then thinking about that commitment to change. How likely are we to take that step? So useful to think about these different aspects and the conversations and the elements that we might have when we're considering career choices within the context of a mentoring conversation and a mentoring relationship. Finally, Ibarra also refers to the idea of experimentation in relation to identity, professional development and careers. So we might want to think about experimentation in relation to a side project, a mini project, a temporary assignment, back to school in relation to training and development, joining a steering group, an advisory body. So perhaps something that might take us out of our comfort zone, that might stretch us, but might also expand our networks, our knowledge, and that external outside that we can gain. We've produced a topic guide to accompany this session, and within the topic guide, there's links to further reading. And we've got the email here for the support team, should you have any questions about the mentoring programme, the resources, or this topic. Thank you for listening.